Welcome to That's Life. I'm your host, Marcia Boyles, and I'd like to introduce my co-host and co-producer, Kathleen Taylor. Good morning, Kathleen.
Good morning.
We are just delighted to be back with you again today, and we have some interesting vignettes. There are 4 of them today. 3 are old-timers returning, and 1 is brand new. So let me begin with the old-timers. We're starting out our vignettes today with Gretchen Kitt, who is playing Wendy Ford. We're then moving to another old-timer, Cecelia, who really has been with us from the beginning, and she is played by Ginny King. The third vignette, Kathleen, is a newcomer.
Yes, yeah. Janet Rife is going to be portraying a new resident who's just meeting her social worker. That will be me for the first time, Helen Henderson.
All right. You and Helen will have a conversation then, and we're going to end up with our beloved Pansy.
Yeah, I haven't seen her for a while. I don't know what she's been up to.
Well, you know she's been up to mischief.
Yes.
Always up to mischief. Pansy is our comedian character that is played so well by Kate Cumbie. So stay tuned. We'll begin our vignettes.
Wendy, what happened?
Well, I'm sorry to barge in on you, but
okay.
I fell in my kitchen floor
Yeah.
backwards on the right side,
Oh,
and
goodness.
I'm hurting. We called security, and I told them I didn't want to go. I just wanted to take care of it, and so they left me alone. But my daughter, Susie, had come for tea, and I was reaching for the teapot with the hot water and pour the tea. And I lost my balance. My shoe didn't move on the floor, and so I'm hurting. And
You look like you're in pain.
my daughter said, I've got to go to the emergency room and get an x-ray and see if there's anything broken.
Good. And you're on your way now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to take her right to the car? Okay. Let me run upstairs and get security so they can help you get her into the car, okay? Yeah, you need to go right to the emergency room.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, that's something you need to have looked at.
I think so.
Good,
I just
Yeah.
don't want to,
I'm
but
so
I
sorry
think
that
so.
happened. Well, Susie, I'm glad you came by,
Thank
and you're
you.
going to take her. And please call me as soon as you find out what's going on with Mom. Thank you for coming by
Thanks.
to let me know, Wendy.
Well, thank you for your interest.
Okay.
See you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cecelia, it's so good to see you again.
Oh, well, thank you. I just wanted to stop in for a quick time for you to catch up on what's been happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had my daughter's marriage it was a same-sex marriage in our chapel, which is a first, I think, in Green Springs Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
And Reverend Bell was just wonderful. And it was a very happy occasion. My friends came, their friends. It was small, but they paid for it, and they paid for the reception. But it was just a very happy occasion. And Reverend Bell had said earlier, when I had some concerns about how my friends were going to accept this same-sex marriage, he had said, if your friends love you, they'll love your daughter. Mm-hmm. And they evidently did, because all of my friends came and all of their friends came. And so Janie and Amanda are just doing fine and very happy. But I wanted you to I wanted to catch you up on.
Yeah, I love hearing happy. You have such a big smile on your face.
Well,
it was really a good thing for you.
It really was
huh?
happy. And they're doing just fine. and they're both, they're both productive now and
Yeah.
having the background that they had. So it's just been a very happy occasion all the way around.
It seems like a real positive, fresh start for them and for you.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
That's great. But you do have a big smile on your
Well,
face. Yeah.
Well, as I said, it's
about
it's been
time.
very good.
It's
yes,
about time.
it is time
Yeah.
for her to be happy as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you guys are staying in touch and
Yes, they've had me over to their apartment a couple of times, and they've come here, and so they feel very much at home here since they were married, in
Yeah.
their chapel.
yeah.
So
So
it's
great.
been very good.
Great. Well, thanks so much for letting me know.
Well, I just wanted to keep you in the loop since
Yeah.
you've been so helpful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, keep telling me the good stuff for sure.
All right, we'll do.
Okay, see you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Mrs. Henderson.
Hi, yes,
so
I'm
good
Helen
to meet
Henderson.
you, Kathleen.
Happy
yeah.
to meet you too.
So you wanted to come and talk to
Yes.
me.
I did.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm a little bit anxious about being here. Gosh, many years ago, my husband and I met with a social worker at school when one of our children was having some drug experimentation. And but this is the first time I've come to talk to anyone about an issue with my husband. So
Oh, okay.
it does make me a bit anxious.
Well, I'll try to help you to feel more relaxed as we
Thank
go
you.
along, for sure.
Thank you.
But you're worried about your husband?
Well, some things have occurred that are worrisome with my husband, Hank, yes. And one basic question I have is how do we know, given that we're all seniors and we have these memory lapses and goof-ups as we age, how do we know, or what are the guidelines to consider whether something is going into dementia or whether it's just part of the normal situation of aging?
Yeah, probably not a clear-cut answer for you, I'm afraid, but it sort of sounds like you're worrying if maybe that's the situation with your husband, that it might not be normal aging that's happening with him.
Well, that's true, and just a little aside, although it's related to my question, I did something so stupid myself just last week. I was in a shopping center with my sister who was visiting, and we got out of the car, and I laid my keys on top of the car, and then walked away from the car.
Uh-oh.
And I thought, wow, what a stupid thing to have done. So that's one of my current examples of the mistakes that we all seem to be making.
Oh, absolutely.
At this age, so.
Especially if you're worrying, you've got a lot on your mind.
Yeah.
Trying
to do too many things at once.
Trying to do too many things at one time,
Yeah,
not enough
exactly.
sleep. There's so many different reasons
Yes.
why somebody might do that. I think it's more if we see a trend.
Right.
If over time you're seeing somebody that's making more and more of those kinds of, I don't want to say mistakes, but the behaviors are a little bit inconsistent.
Right.
So what are you seeing
I
with
see.
your husband?
Well, we have had separate checking accounts most of our lives, and Hank has always been the one to do the bills, and he's been, very, very efficient at that. I've never worried about it, although from time to time I feel as though I need to be more involved, in case something did happen to him. But recently I was aware that one important bill had not been paid on time. It was our long-term care insurance, which of course is
Important.
significant.
Yeah.
So I was aware that a second notice had come in, and so I asked him about it, and he kind of blew it off and said, "Oh, it's been taken care of," and so that was kind of the end of that. The other thing I've seen, and my husband is a retired college professor, so he's always been a good conversationalist. But at dinner, a few times I've noticed that he, was having difficulty finding a word when he was talking about something that that he would be knowledgeable about. So it would be unusual for him not to be able to find the right word.
Does he seem to be aware at all? Does he seem frustrated or aware that he's having these glitches?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure I have an answer to
He
that.
hasn't said anything to
He
you.
has not. No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I would definitely recommend is that he does go to his physician if he hasn't seen them lately, just to have a thorough evaluation, because there are definitely physical reasons, medical conditions, and other kinds of factors, including depression, that can impact a person's memory. So I would definitely think that would be a good place to start.
Well, he did just have his annual health assessment just last week. I'm sure that he didn't talk to her about anything like this.
Yeah.
But you know, based on what he did talk about and what tests she did give him, he's fine. But you know, so it would have to be a new conversation, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that the doctors are really dependent on, you know, sort of people bringing up that initial concern.
Yes.
Because if it's something that's not that obvious, you know, the person might not pick up on it. The doctor might not pick up on it.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
We really want, you know, we encourage all of our residents when they're speaking with their physicians to be as forthright as possible about different things. People tend to not want to do that sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, worrying, you know, about what might be the answer or what might be the outcome.
Right, you may not want to hear.
You might not want to hear exactly.
Yes.
So, so have you talked to your husband? Have you just said, hey, what's your husband's name?
Hank.
Hank. Have you just said to him, you know, I'm kind of worried, and just sort of brought that out into the open so that you guys can talk about it a little bit?
I haven't really, and I'm sure that's the first thing that I need to do.
Yeah.
And thinking the best way to say that, I suppose,
would be, hey, I'm worried about you.
Hey, I'm worried.
Yeah.
I've noticed these. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. But, you know, as you say, all of us can have some reluctance at going into things that are possibility of bad news. You know, we just as soon avoid.
You kind of automatically go to the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not the worst. You know, it can be very much just that it's something else that's going on that they can do an evaluation and find out more specifically what's going on. We do have the ability to do some tests for memory loss. There's the particular test that we use is called the MOCA, which is the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. And that's particularly sensitive to mild cognitive loss, which is a lot of times short-term memory loss. And that's something that's a paper and pencil test that's pretty easy to do, that the social worker could do with him if he felt like he really wanted to just sort of to have that assessment done.
No, is that the same one that we did when we got here?
It actually is.
It is the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it actually is. That's a good question.
Okay.
And so we do have that point of comparison too.
Right.
How long has it been since you've been here?
2.5 years.
Okay, so this would be a good time to do a reassessment,
right?
Because you do have that initial as a benchmark. So there would be a point of comparison there,
right?
That you could say, you know, oh, it's kind of the same as it was, or you know, there's you've lost some points, and what areas you've lost points in. Right. The other thing is that there really are some compensatory strategies that can be used if you are short-term memory loss as people age is pretty normal.
Yes.
But we also have different programs on campus. We have a speech therapist. We actually have 2 speech therapists that do cognitive rehab that can help people to develop strategies again for being able to manage that short-term memory loss.
Right.
So I think not only, you know, to do the assessment, to have that information, but to know that there are actually things that we can do to help if there is some short-term memory loss, for example. There's some things that he can do to be able to make adjustments. And also, you know, again, to be able to bring that back to the physician, because if there is some subcognitive impairment, there are medications that people can go on that will, they're not curative, but they can slow down the process. So those are all good reasons to have that information.
To get information as early as possible.
Exactly right, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know, you know, what you're thinking about how to be able to have that conversation with him and
Oh, I think
encourage
it's
him?
doable. I think, you know, your encouragement, that's the first thing I need to do. I mean, we've been married almost 53 years, so I ought to be able to have a conversation with him.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you guys are in it together.
Right.
And certainly he doesn't want you worrying
Right.
without being able to have that talk with him and
Right.
find out. And, you know, there's a possibility that he's worrying himself.
Sure.
But he doesn't want to worry you.
Yes, exactly.
So again, you know, just bringing that all out in the open and having that talk is going to be beneficial in so many ways.
Yeah.
The
that sounds
least
good.
not being your relationship. You know, it's
Right.
since you've been married for so long, you know, secrets are never good. So
No.
so to be able to do that.
Okay.
So you're thinking you'll just going to go home and sort of
Well, I
bring
may
that
wait,
up
I may
for
wait for the
him
right
and-
time.
Sure, of course. Timing is everything, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, but just to know that if he does want to go forward with having that reassessment that we've already done when you all first came onto campus, that we would be able to do that for him. I could do that for him, and he would have that information. And then, depending on what we found, or you know, irregardless, maybe planning another meeting with the physician where you're talking a little bit more about specifically about what his concerns are.
Sure. Sure.
And they'll be able to have an assessment that's really targeted towards those concerns.
All right, that
Sound
sounds
like
good.
a plan?
Sounds very good, Kathleen.
Okay, all right. So let me know what else I can do,
I will.
and we'll go forward from there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pansy, hey, how are you doing?
Fine.
Well, you know, I had asked you to come.
Yes, I'm so glad. I always love talking to you.
Yeah. I had asked you to come because apparently there had been a problem with your drains. And since I see those little birdies over there.
I'm so glad to introduce you to them. That's Peter and Paul. And don't you like that Peter, Paul, and Pansy?
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. So apparently the birds have been molting in your bathtub.
Well, we have two bathrooms, you know, and I have the shower and they have the bathtub. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
whatever it is they do,
Yeah.
they're doing it in the bathtub.
Yeah, dropping their
Yeah.
feathers apparently. And so I think that General Services has come a couple of times and had
Yeah,
to
they come
clean out
regularly.
clean out the drain.
And isn't it nice for them that instead of some of the nastiness that's in drains, they have colored feathers?
Yeah.
I think it's so nice.
Yeah. So tell me about these birds. How did
Well,
you come
know,
about them?
You know, I hate to be alone, and you know that through the whole.
Yeah, we've had Al. We've had,
Yeah. And so my wonderful grandson Kevin found out about these flamingos, and he gave them to me. And besides that, he provides the food. So once in a while, he has to come and see me and bring me flamingo food. And it's the food that gives the beautiful color to the birds. You probably didn't know
I
that.
did not know
No.
that. I had no idea. So these flamingos are living in your bathroom
Yes.
and they're happy?
They don't talk to me much, but I guess they're
Well,
happy.
that's good.
I'm happy.
You're happy.
Yes.
Wow, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with you again, that we were really concerned about sort of having animals that were going to be appropriate
But
for
it says
the...
birds can be here.
Oh, man, you have me there. You have me there.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. Well, I know you. I know. They're pretty big for... Don't you
They
worry
are
that they're
big.
not getting enough exercise and stuff?
Well, you know, there's always the pond. I figure I could just take them out there on nice days and things like that. And don't you think that would work?
I don't know. Do they walk on leashes and stuff?
You know, I haven't really tried that, but probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
that
I
could
could
work.
get pink ones that color, so we'd all be, and I'll get a pink shirt, and we'll all be color coordinated. Peter, Paul, and Pansy.
I know.
Yeah.
So how long have you had them?
Gosh, time flies when you're having fun. 6 weeks.
Oh, okay. So they've just been hanging out in the
Yeah.
bathroom for 6 weeks.
And they don't complain, and they get plenty of food. You know, if I didn't feed them, they'd probably complain.
Do they make a lot of noise? Do they
They
like
make a kind of a strange guttural sound, but
not
you know,
not loud?
no, well, it doesn't seem loud to me. I don't know how loud it is.
Haven't heard anything from your neighbors or anything about that?
You know, there have been a few times when people told me they heard strange noises, but it never occurred to me that it might be Peter and Paul.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to think about this a little bit. We're certainly going to have to think about the feathers in the drain, because I think General Services is getting a little bit, as much as they, I'm sure, appreciate the colorfulness
yes,
of the feathers, that they are having to send somebody out on a regular basis.
That's true. They do,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Which is nice for me too, because then I have company. I like it.
Yeah. So you're still feeling a little lonely, huh?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's something else we can probably talk about a little bit too.
think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I mean, you do like to have your friends, whether
Yeah,
they be
sure. Pink or
pink or
green like an
green
alligator.
like an alligator. Exactly right. So let me think a little bit.
All right.
And then how about if I call you back at some point and we have another conversation? Because you like to come and visit me, right?
I do. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be just great, Kathleen. I knew that if there was a problem, you could fix it. I
Well,
knew it.
I don't think I fixed it yet, but we'll figure it out.
You're on the way.
We're on the way. We've got to start here.
I can hardly wait.
Yeah, me too. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome back. Well, those were most interesting vignettes today. Certainly different than anything we've had before.
I'm still trying to recover from Pansy,
From the flamingos.
but we'll save that one for later.
Yeah, well, I was going to say we need to, we can talk a little bit about that more. Kathleen, let's start with the appearance of Wendy, Gretchen Kitt, in a wheelchair. Talk a little bit about, if you would, about security's role in that and how that all works.
Right. She actually didn't say how security ended up coming to the apartment, but we'll maybe assume that she pulled the emergency pull cord to show up the first time that she fell.
Yes.
Yeah. So security will come if there's either a pull cord. They do latch checks twice a day, so that if it's not been changed, then security will enter the apartment to make sure that the person hasn't had an injury of some sort. And then for people that have the press alerts as well, the alert systems that they can press if there's a problem. So there's several different ways where security might become aware that a person has had an event, potentially fallen or hurt themselves in some sort of way. So once security comes, they're going to make an assessment, and then they're going to make a recommendation to the resident about what would be
What action would be
a
appropriate?
good idea. And if, in her case, they recommended that she go to the healthplex for just to be evaluated.
Rather than the health center.
I think that's. It probably
With
depended
falls?
on what it probably. Well, it probably depends on basically what time of day it is.
Oh, of course.
You know, I'm not wasn't clear on the time frame for that, but it might be. But since Anne was there, I guess during the day, they would possibly suggest the healthplex. But a lot of times, if there's a diagnostic workup that needs to be done. Or rather, they would suggest the medical center first, but if there is more diagnostic work that needs to be done, then that would also maybe be a recommendation for the healthplex.
And with a fall, I can imagine that the
they might need
healthplex
to
would be
do X-rays and that
Yes.
sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And certainly, if it's a more serious presentation where they're looking at maybe a stroke or a cardiac event, then they're going to call 911 right away and make sure that the person gets as
For an
quickly as
ambulance.
possible.
Yes.
To the hospital. But in her case, it sounds like she felt like she had just been shaken up a little bit.
Yes.
But
She apparently told security she
that
didn't want
she didn't want to go anywhere. And I guess at that point, I mean, and certainly security is not, they're going to respect the residents' rights in terms of, you know,
They're not going to
saying
force
that
it?
they won't force it, no. Unless there's, you know, clearly some
confusion or
event happening in the moment.
Yes.
And at that point, they'll reach out to the doctor, and that doesn't matter. It could be the doctor that's on call if it's after hours or on the weekend, but they will definitely reach out to a doctor at that point to get the doctor, let the doctor know what's going on, and hopefully the doctor can persuade the resident if they're sort of declining to be evaluated. A lot of times the physician will be able to help the person see the benefit of doing that. So I guess in this situation it was lucky that her daughter
was there. Yes.
Came by to visit, because as it happened, even though she thought she was going to start to feel better, she started to feel worse.
Okay. Well, I think then let's go to the next one. How would you summarize Ginny's situation? That was just a follow-up?
Yes, Jenny is Cecelia?
Yes.
Yeah. It was, I mean, we always say that we would really just like to hear the positive things
You
as
did,
well.
and you made it a point to tell her that,
Yeah.
haven't you?
Yeah.
In the past.
Yeah, and also just, of course, the same thing is that, you know, Cecelia and I had been working together for quite a while.
Yes.
You know, in terms of her having had an acute illness, and, you know, going through a lot of changes, and then, you know, the relationship with the daughter. So there had been lots of conversations that we had been having about her life, and I think that we developed a strong bond. So the idea that she would come by and share with me her obvious happiness was great. It was great for me, and it was good for her to be able to share that experience with somebody. So,
Yes, and Cecelia has been such a glum character that, as you kept pointing out to
I
her,
know, she had this big smile
she
on her
did.
face the whole time.
It was quite lovely to see, wasn't it?
It really was. Yeah.
Oh, that was a fun one. Janet Rife playing Helen Henderson, our brand new character. This was most interesting, Kathleen. What would you like to say to us about that?
I think it's just definitely a situation that I could imagine having with any number of different residents, spouses, or even sometimes friends that are noticing some differences.
Let me ask you this. Does anybody ever come in and say to you that they're having those symptoms?
Sometimes.
I'm worried about myself because I'm losing words and I'm losing the ability to express myself, kinds of things.
Yeah.
Or memory issues.
Yeah. Not as often as we would like, just because I think that I think it is hard for people to sort of own up to that,
to acknowledge it,
to be able to come in and have that conversation, to know, like we were talking about, the next step. I mean, the next step might be that you find out that yes, indeed, what you're so worried about is true, that you are experiencing some memory loss. But again, the assessment is going to be crucial, having that physician assessment to be able to rule out other potential reasons for that. And there's lots of different medical diagnoses, drug interactions,
you mentioned depression.
Depression,
I hadn't realized that.
Yeah, we talk about pseudo-dementia, and that can be as a result of depression, because when a person's depressed, they're not able to focus. They're so focused internally on sort of their internal mood state that they're not paying good attention to the environment around them, so they can be very forgetful.
That's interesting, because certainly depression is something that I think a lot of us experience as we age.
Absolutely.
What about anxiety? does that do the same thing?
Yeah, it does, because again, you're so internally focused. And sleep loss,
Yes.
disruption in sleep cycle,
Yes.
that can also play in, and that's something that you have both with depression and anxiety. So, and maybe you're not eating well. There's lots of medical reasons that definitely, diagnoses that can impact memory that aren't dementia.
And that should be a comfort in a sense.
Well, at least you know that you have
It's
the
possible.
ability to kind of hone in on what the problem area might be. And as I told Helen as well, there are also strategies, even if you are experiencing short-term memory loss, there are strategies that you can work with our speech therapists about just helping you organize your life so that you know people use calendars and different making lists, different sorts of things that you can do to kind of make up for the fact that
Some compensatory.
that short-term memory might be going a little bit, and those are accommodations that can be really helpful and help you just manage the day.
Kathleen, who will give you a referral for that? Can social workers give the referral, or does it come through the medical center?
It does. It's a physician referral.
Okay.
So, and definitely, I mean, I just keep on saying, start with your physician, and they can make referrals to social work. We can do a memory health assessment. And if you come to social work first, we'll of course refer you to your physician, because we're all a team really involving these situations. So, but then, yeah, speech therapy. If you meet with a social worker, we can just communicate with the physician about the referral. There's just lots of different ways that we can do it. So either way, we'll get you there.
Okay. Well, that I think is wonderfully helpful information.
Yeah.
For many folks.
So I think that with Helen and her husband, it's good that they're going to be having a conversation now, because
yes, that she was willing to do that.
Yeah, she's clearly worried, and we really don't know what's going on. So it's really just what the next step is going to bring at this point.
Well, I think you were extremely helpful to her in terms of the way she needed now to proceed. That was most interesting. Then we come to Pansy, and she is back up to her tricks, isn't she?
Yeah.
Having unusual pets.
Yeah.
But she's absolutely right, Kathleen. When she had her alligator, you cited the pet policy.
Yes.
Which was cats, dogs, birds, and birds.
Right. So these are birds.
These are birds.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm coming at it from the angle that I don't think it's a good environment for those birds.
That would be my suspicion. Yes.
I worry about the birds' quality of life at this point.
I think that's a very valid point. And having done a little research on flamingos myself, I know that they have very, very loud cries.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she was alluding that maybe her neighbors were saying something. So we'll look into this a little bit more, but definitely I worry. I guess I'm hearing loneliness from Pansy still, you know?
Yes.
And how she's meeting her needs is with her grandson's collusion in terms of
His
being able to
flair for
provide her
animals,
with unusual pets. But you know, I think that we want her to feel like she is having connections with people or other things that make her happy. So,
right. She's probably had enough communication with her alligators and flamingos, and maybe people
would be good. And I think she was on that track at one point, but I know maybe it's gotten hard for her again, and so I think that's why I'm going to want to follow up with her again and just dig a little bit deeper into what might be going on.
All right. Well, that was very nicely done. And Pansy is always a joy, isn't she?
Oh, she is. She's so good.
All right. Well, Kathleen, I see that we're about ready to close up here. Anything that you'd like to leave us with, or have we said all we need to say?
Yeah, I think we're good. Always a lot of things going on here at That's Life.
Very well put. Very well put. All right. Well, we certainly thank you for joining us today. We've had fun, and we hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next month.